So welcome everyone. This is our second hangout from Afropean. We are happy to be here together again. Do I need to suppress my African culture to fully integrate in Europe? But we are also with people that have already been in Africa or outside of the Netherlands. So you can also say, do I need to suppress my Dutch culture to fully integrate
in Africa,
abroad, in other countries, in Africa or in Spain? So we are going to talk about cultural differences, actually, and just to share experiences and to see if we can learn from each other. But let's start with something funny. I'd like to know from you, what do you see here in this picture? So Tera, you're laughing, you start. You see a child?
The first I see is a crying baby.
Very good.
And then the bottle.
Yeah.
Next
What
to
is
it,
the bottle?
this bottle, yeah, with milk, I suppose.
Yes, right.
Yeah. And then I see the other baby.
Mm-hmm. It's the same, baby.
It's the same, this on below.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
Okay, and then I see the mother.
Yeah. So you see first crying and then smiling.
Yeah.
And then the milk butter. Yes. So okay. Very good. And Amanda, what do you see? Do you see the same?
Well, I see an Arab lady, or I assume she's Arabic, with a child.
Very good, yeah.
And to me, it feels like propaganda. Like, if you don't want your child to be sad, then give him the milk so he'll be happy. But she doesn't look. She doesn't look happy. She looks worried. Like she's worried about her environment or maybe her circumstances. That's what I see.
Yeah, very, very good. This is actually an advertising board, advertising for milk. So you're all right. And it's an American company selling milk in an Arabic country. So the message is clear, I assume. Huh? Tara and Amanda, you can see the message is like the child is crying, that melts, and then it become happy. Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. But what's happened in reality, they didn't sell anything from this milk. What could be the reason, according to you?
Because the woman looks worried.
Very good. Another
suspicious. Yeah,
yeah.
Suspicious.
Yes. Very good. I think they maybe you have 3 or 4 reasons. So that's one. She looks suspicious. She doesn't trust it.
Yeah.
Okay. Another reason.
I also see the child like scratching his head. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah.
They are
It's
not.
also adopting. That's possible. Okay. Very good. You can see the good reasons. 2 more.
But they also look like, the mother looks like she is starving, you know, because if you look at her hands, they look so skinny, you know?
Yes.
You can't see her body because of the robe, but her hands look very ill or emaciated. Yeah.
Yes, yes. What you see is a crying baby, right?
Yeah.
And then you see a smiling one.
Yes.
So you read from, how to say that, right to left.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I get it. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Arab people read from left to right. So they first see a smiling baby getting his milk, and then he starts crying. So they won't buy it.
Yeah.
the way they understand this image is very different than the way we understand the image. We interpret it, you know.
Yeah.
That's a small example how cultural differences can be a cause of problem. Because this company invests a lot of money in this campaign. And they just lose money because of they didn't take into account these small differences, but fundamental difference. So if you relate it to integration, it's the same. Like when I arrived in Amsterdam, my first day in Amsterdam, I came from Paris and arrived at the station. That was like 20 years ago. And there were a lot of bikes outside of the station. You know that, huh? In Amsterdam at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you know what I found at that moment? I was like, oh my God, this is a poor country. That was my first idea in the Netherlands. Man, I've made a big mistake to come here. I should have stayed in France, you know? Because of the bikes. And in Africa, someone who is having a bike, moving with the bike, mostly you think is a poor someone, you know? I've been educated in that way. Like rich people have cars and big cars. So I was expecting to see very nice Mercedes when I saw a lot of bikes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here in this country? Let's share experience. Do you have some experience that was like shocking for you? For African people when you arrive in the Netherlands, and for the Dutch people when you went to Africa? Maybe we can start by exchanging experience at that level. What was for you really shocking?
Can I start?
Yeah, please.
I was invited when I was new in the Netherlands. I was invited by a neighbor for coffee and for introduction. I live in a small village.
Yeah.
So it was nice that I get to know the people around me. So anyway, they invited me and my husband in the morning hours for coffee at their house.
Yeah.
And well, I didn't know what are the rules and what are the norms and the culture. So anyway, we got coffee and there was a tin of biscuits. And this was actually, I was getting used to the way that people didn't have lunch here. So anyway, I had taken a piece of bread in the morning, but at 11 or something when we were taking the coffee, I was hungry. But anyway, there was a cooked rommel, the cookie tin on the table.
Yeah.
And I just picked one. It was open, so I picked one.
Yeah.
I ate it, and then I picked a second after like an hour or half an hour or something. And then I saw this lady taking away the tin, the container holding the biscuits.
Yes.
And I really, at that moment, I felt something. I knew I had done something wrong, but I didn't know what.
Yeah.
And my husband had not warned me beforehand, or, I mean, for me, where I come from in Kenya, when you put something on the table for the visitors, they're free to pick however much they want, you know?
Yes.
So that's what I thought it is. Just, it's on the table. It's for the visitors, you know?
Yeah.
And I can pick it. So when we went back home, I asked my husband, I was like, there's something wrong I did. And this woman took away the biscuit tin. And then he was like, yeah, you should have waited until you were given. That's the culture here. You just don't pick it.
Right.
I was very ashamed for a long time.
Yeah, I've been listening as well. And I've had similar experiences.
Yeah.
When I was younger, and I went by my bike to visit a friend because we were going out that evening. We're teenagers. And I decided, since I was free the afternoon, I thought, okay, let me just go a little bit earlier. Instead of like 6:30, let me arrive at maybe 5:45. So I went in, I said, hey, nice to see you. And they were like, oh, they were not really welcoming. And they said, sorry, but we're having dinner. You just wait on the couch and we'll call you when we're done. And I'd cycled for like maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds familiar. It rings a bell.
And how do we do in Africa when someone visits you while you are eating?
Yeah, you invite them.
Yeah, directly. Just
Yeah, there's no question.
no. They can even invite themselves, huh?
Even friends, if they come with their friends, it's fine.
Yeah. So those are small differences, but very important, as you can see.
It's quite interesting to listen to the speakers that have spoken before me.
Yeah.
I want to just share also a particular experience that has to do with cross-cultural experience.
Mm-hmm.
When I came into this country in 1992, I happened to work in an environment where I was doing the production work. Then we're just trying to get into the system.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens that on our break time, I went to get the snacks from Febo. One of my colleagues, young lady, came right after me.
Yeah.
So, and my order was longer than hers. So I asked the bar guy to say, I take off the bill.
Yes.
Order for me to take off the bill. And then this girl got so offended when we go back to the break time and say, why did you have to pay for me? That I don't have money to pay for my meal? I was shocked because back in Africa, it's usual for a guy to take the bill or the lady expects you to take the bill.
Yeah.
I find it quite interesting. And I remember also my former ex-girlfriend, black lady, telling me, oh, you have done everything, done nice to me, you've been very kind to me and everything there emotionally, but financially, we're not taking care of me buying this or buying that. I thought like, okay, that's interesting. One culture, one is expecting to buy everything, the other one expecting to demonstrate independence. So it makes it very interesting to see that culture is a way to which we adapt to our environment.
Right.
And therefore, it's dynamic.
Yes.
Can I say something as an Afropean? Because I feel like I'm sometimes more Dutch than Ghanaian at times. So I used to date this Ghanaian guy. Mm-hmm. And if I felt like I invited you out to the date, so it's up to me to pay for the date because I invited you. Yeah. And he was so offended because he's like, yeah, look, you don't think I can take care of you and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, no, you always take me out on a date. And I find it quite nice if I could pay for this date. Yeah. And he was not happy. I can tell you that. He felt emasculated. I say,
so the next time you can invite me, I won't be offended. I would love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please come.
Please. But maybe this particular thing with paying for a date is also related to the generation.
Yeah.
In my generation, a woman never pays. Never. So I'm free. They always pay for me because it's my generation who does it. Yeah. Sometimes you do 50-50 but it never ever happens that I have to pay for the two of us for a date.
Okay.
So maybe it also has to do something with the generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can see the evolution also, even inside a country, things change, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. But in the south, anyway, in south of Limburg, it's still old-fashioned. If you go to the north, to Rotterdam, Amsterdam, it's more modern. It's more common that the woman also pays. But in South Limburg, it's not done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
I am the other generation, the new generation, let's say, because I think I'm an independent woman. I work, I have everything. I have my house, my car, and there's no need for me that a man pays my bill. It can happen, but I would like to switch every now and then. And the first time he pays, the second time I pay, or we split the bill. But for me, it's also, you go out together. So why would a man always pay?
Yeah.
For me, there's no reason.
I remember a class, I was visiting a classmate
Yeah.
And she herself, her mom was Dutch and her dad was Egyptian, but she was raised by her mom in a single parent household, you know?
Yeah.
And I was there to pick her up to go somewhere. And her mom just asked her something simple. And she's like, shut up. You can't talk to me like this. Would you get out of my room? And I was like, I've never seen anything like this. I felt so embarrassed because I was like, and I asked her, do you think that's normal to talk to your mom like that? She's like, yeah, but this is my space. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, what would my mom and dad do to me if I even tried to say shut up, you know? Like even the word shut up, not even get out of my room, but just shut up. Like,
Yes.
hey, you want to die today. Today you want to die. Like, they don't even give you a chance to be like...
So let's talk about that. Education. Who has some experience on that? Like, how do you raise children? How do children react on the relation, especially in the communication, you know, between parents and children? Does someone has an experience on that?
Well, yeah, I can speak about my own experience. I have 3 boys in the house. The youngest is born in Kenya but raised here, so he's more Dutch than Kenyan.
Yeah.
But I'm raising him up as in between both cultures in a way that I talk to him about everything, even topics where I didn't bring up with my mom or my dad, you know. So we are very communicative in that sense, and he has that feeling that he can come to me with any issue, and we'll talk about it. But once he makes me mad, I bring out my African voice. He knows exactly what that is. And then we'll go away. I mean, it's not like he never tells me shut up, but I've heard him tell his Dutch dad, shut up. And I'm like,
That's African woman coming back.
So, but he knows he can't never say that to me. I mean, so I'm kind of balancing between both cultures in terms of discipline and how I raise up my boys.
Yeah. Can you imagine then how does it feel for a child growing up, let's say between 2 cultures? If you were like really principled, like, okay, I'm African and she has to listen to me and they have to do what I want. And when they go to school, they got something very different. They tell them your parents are not the one who decide whatever you want. You are free person, and that can be a source of problem when children are growing up.
Yeah, I grew up here as well. I've been here since I was 2, and I went through the Dutch school system.
Yeah.
And at home it was more like Kenyan, and it was more like the way my mom was raised in African Kenya.
Yeah.
And at school I would see, for instance, in high school that students are smoking with their teachers, which I thought, wow, this is shocking for me. How can they? How does this even exist? A 13-year-old smoking with an adult?
Yeah.
And those type of differences in terms of how you speak to people who are older than you. You always have respect all the time, no matter if you're wrong. You just say, okay. But my Dutch friends would always challenge the discussions, and they would not shy away from speaking their minds.
Yeah.
And for me, even now till today, if someone is older, I'm always a little bit more, I always take a step back still.
I think this is a very interesting one, because this is what I think is one of the biggest problems we Africans are facing in Europe generally.
Mm-hmm.
Because most parents don't have that capacity, like the lady that spoke before now, to switch between cultures and try to give the child the best out of both culture.
Yeah.
So what then happens is that you end up having a child that's lost in his own identity, which is a very sad thing to happen.
Yeah.
I happen to be a parent of 2 young men, one's 15 and the other one's 16. Their mom, a white lady, I'm a black man.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the early stage, I decided to choose for a multicultural upbringing, which I think I'm proud to see the product today. But most of Africans I see from my work and everything don't have that capacity to end up having to want to impose the audacity or the the authoritative way of upbringing that we have in Africa, which of course I'm not putting into a discussion or debate here because we have a reason for adapting that system.
Yeah.
But it's very paramount to take the time to allow yourself to sink in, to understand that the child is dealing with a different culture, a different environment, and give him that space of respect to help make him more productive, self-confident, and be able to communicate in both cultures. So what I've done in my case actually is to pick those rich values in our culture, like respect, like the young lady said before, to others, and manners, a lot of things that I think, not that it's not here, but because of the way the society here defines freedom to be absolute, I think is eroding. So it's a way to find the balance that ends up giving the best productivity for a child. That's what I think from my own personal experience. But it's a complex job to do, which most Africans have, in my opinion, failed in doing that, not because they consciously choose to fail, but because it's a very complex issue. So it's,
It's very good what you're saying, this balance.
Yeah.
It's the same challenge for all of us, actually. But also for Dutch people, they should try to find this balance, how to deal with people coming from outside. Because like I said, like culture is a programming, you know, and mostly people just do it automatically, like, okay, this is the way I do, and you think it's universal, like everywhere it should work. Religion, what is your experience when you just arrive, or now, even now? What's your experience with that in the Netherlands?
Then I have to bring it back to like my high school days, where if we would discuss religion, then the teacher would be like, "Oh, doe toch niet zo zweverig, weet je? Don't be so." How do you say that? I don't know what the English word is for zweverig, but it's like, don't be too flighty in your understanding of the supernatural. There is no such thing as supernatural. There's not even such a thing as God. You know, it's just nature and humans and. But then it's like the stories that children would tell, that you would have Surinamese children talk about, but in Suriname we have Yorkatori and we have ghosts and you can't go into the woods after this time. And the Moroccan kids would be like, but we also have like this lady with red hair. And if you go into this part of the, so we would talk about these things and the teacher would be like, this is all nonsense. It's just gibberish. It's just make believe, you know? So if he would also ridicule us for being believers, because he's like, how could you be a Muslim? How do you know that if there is a God? And why would you think that if you died that you would receive 40 virgins? You don't even have a virgin now. So what makes you think that you would receive all of that when you pass? You know, like always ridiculing the spiritual systems, but never really taking the time to listen and be like, oh, so where does this come from? And how do you see that? And how do I believe? But it's like, often a contradiction in, well, that is nonsense because I know better, because there's no such thing as the supernatural. So I struggled with that a lot. And I think also growing up as a Christian, I found it also hard to integrate what I saw Sunday in church and was receiving at home with what I was also receiving in school, you know, of information and critical thinking on all those things, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I don't like to be forced into a religion. Like this is it and nothing else. This is, for me, it's not okay.
I was born in a religious family. My mother is a pastor. In fact, she has a church, and but then I went to Christian schools, etc. But now, as an adult, I'm a scientist. I'm in healthcare, so automatically getting into that field made me start to ask questions. Why is this happening and how is this possible? And I wouldn't say I'm not an atheist. I do believe in a higher power, and some of us call that higher power God, others call Allah, others the Big Bang. Everyone has a name for it, but I do believe there is a higher power out there. However, I also believe that just because someone is religious or not, the difference in convictions does not mean that you should not respect the other person's opinion, and also at the same time you should not impose your religious or non-religious views on another person. Everyone should have the freedom to decide what path they want to take, what belief they want to go for.
But let's talk about something more interesting, money. What's your
money?
What's your experience in differences in how we deal with money as African or Dutch. And yeah, let's share experience about that.
When it comes to money, I would say I'm originally from Tanzania. And economically, we are not very good at financial management. Personal and broader in broader terms. Yeah. But the Dutch, one thing I've noticed about the Dutch is they're very good at saving and spending their money.
Yeah. I was born in Maastricht.
Yeah.
And my mom was like living with Dutch people, so they really taught her how to like come up, save your money. But my mom is she already is very wise with money, always has been. As a child already, she always told us that. Yeah. But then coming into the Dutch culture, she learned how to even economize even more, to the extent that she's the queen of economizing in a sense, you know. And my dad is like, money needs to flow. My father is like, if we go out to dinner, get whatever you want. And my mom is like, oh no. Kofi, why do I have to eat all of this? We have still food in the house. We can't. And I'm like, oh, dude, like I'm more like my dad, who is like, let the money flow and spend. But the thing is that being more like my dad also gets me in trouble, because when the money flows and the flow ends, then I'm a little bit, you know, like, oh, maybe I should be more like my mom, you know. So I tend to like do it 50-50, which sometimes helps, but I feel like my dad is more African in that, and my mom is more Dutch, and I tend to like mix the both of them and have like a middle way in there. So then sometimes I splurge and sometimes I save, and the saving is going better and I'm getting my benefits out of it. So yeah, I think I have the best of both worlds in both my parents.
The biggest difference, if I had to compare Kenya with the Netherlands, is the whole mindset of long-term planning. Yeah. So in Kenya, if you arrive around Christmas time in January, everything is empty. It's a ghost town because people have spent all their money during Christmas time. That's the time to live, right?
Yes.
But here you can maybe meet a friend and they say, oh, sorry, I cannot join you for a potato mayonnaise. It's something really simple because I don't have money right now. But then the next week they can maybe buy a car. Yeah. So that's the whole mindset of like living according to your means or under your standards, because you're already thinking like 10 steps ahead in a more long-term way.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something about the money aspect, because I was also raised by my mom, you know, like really planned how to save and taught me how to save. And in Nigeria, they have this system, you know, of like doing contribution. And yeah, that is like, you know, I got that part from her. So I think it really depends. It depends on the family, or, you know, I mean, it's not necessary that Africans don't save or focus on long term. Mm-hmm. But I think it just depends on the household per se, because I was really raised that way, and I see it also around me that my family is also, you know, focused on that thing. And I also agree a little bit with Amanda in the sense of, yeah, it's good to save, but also sometimes also good to have a balance. Like sometimes you can just, you know, let it flow a little bit, you know, in that sense. But yeah, saving and, you know, focusing on long term is also good, because, yeah, if you don't have a balance, you don't know how 2 years from now is going to be. I mean, with the corona, it shows also that things can just change in a split second, you know. So I think you should have a balance also in that. Yeah. That's what I wanted to add.
That's very good. So you have learned it.
Yeah.
That's very important to understand. Culture is something we learn. That's why it's important to communicate, and that's what I'm advocating for in the Netherlands, to stimulate the integration of what they call newcomers in the Netherlands. We should talk about this.
And when I was 4 or 5 years, instead of my mom picking me up from school, my mom's older sister picked me up from school. You know, so when they asked her, like, okay, who are you here to pick up? Then she say, yeah, Amanda. Then they say, okay, but who are you? This is, yeah, I'm her mother. You know, but she's my mom's older sister. Yeah. And they were like, no, you're not her mom. Then she's like, no, I'm her mother. What do you mean I'm her mother? And then she couldn't understand that they couldn't understand that that's now the way to to go, and this is like in the 1991. Yeah, this is 1991. So they had to call my mom in order to make sure that everything was okay. And I had to like this is really my auntie, but it was very confusing because it's like it's normal to call your auntie mama, or your other uncle daddy, it's like that was like it's normal, but that also brings a lack of boundaries where it's like my business is the family's business. It's like when I'm at a wedding, my auntie will be like, so when are you getting married? Oh, you're too fat, when are you going to lose this weight? And everybody has something to say, or like it's like they're so personal that I'm not used to that. And I feel like, but you're invading my space by asking me certain questions. And it's like, it's what Chidi said, navigating the individualism versus the collectivism.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And that is where you also recognize this the programming, like culture. And it's not only, you don't get culture through the education only, but environment also that define how do you act. Look, like Africa is really collectivism, but that is also about economical development. But I think even in Africa, if we reach the level of development of Europe, this collectivism will remain somewhere because it's very deep. And it will be nice to have it, I think, when we economically we can grow also, and we are able to share. But anyway, Anita first, and then we go back.
Yeah, I just wanted to add about the individualistic versus collectivism. We had a old family friend of ours passed away in the village in Kenya. And I have relatives here in Holland as well, who have been here for more than 20 years. So when I asked my aunt, what is the number, where can we send money to? She has actually been here 20 years, and she told me, don't even go there, because once you start, it will never end. So for me at that point, it was also like, okay, I'm in the middle. I want to help, I want to do something, but at the same time, I also understand what she's saying. And, so that's definitely a battle between the whole me versus us culture.
Yeah. That I like this, what you're saying, the battle. Integration is like a battle. You need to, it's not easy. And it's also not easy for Dutch people who are receiving us. And that's also part of my advocacy. This effort should come from both sides. But normally, expectation is like, okay, you come in the country, so you have to adapt. And then in Netherlands, we say, je moet je aanpassen. So you have to adapt on the Dutch way of doing things. But that's very difficult if you don't understand the reason why people are doing things. When you understand it, it makes it easier, like having this individualism versus collective. If you don't understand why an auntie calls you my daughter, it can happen that they call the police. Let's say there is a woman here who needs to take your child. So it's very, very important. Okay, Kenneth, you're still mute.
Yeah, I'm listening because
we want to hear from you.
That when you come to where somebody is buried, and you were not there, and they ask you to go and dig it out, you might start from the leg. So, and I do not want to start from the leg. I want to start from the head. So that's why I'm listening.
This is wisdom. This is wisdom, African wisdom. Come on. Very good.
So that's why I'm just listening to come in to know what is going on.
Yeah. So we are talking about cultural differences and how that can affect your integration process. In this case, in our case, in the Netherlands, but it's also for Dutch people going to other countries. So let's talk about it. Now we have been only talking about how African do feel about the cultural differences. I want to hear from, Bianca is raising her hand. So tell us.
the biggest shock for me when I went to Angola was the driving. I am used to organized driving. Right goes first. The traffic lights, everything is organized. And then I went to Luanda, which is a huge city with a lot of cars, and it's just the right of the strongest. So you just put your car in front of the other one.
Yeah.
If you want to be on the other road, otherwise you don't get in. And if you're being polite, you'll just wait until the end of the day, but you won't get through. So that was really difficult. And the boyfriend I had at that time, he was Angolan. He came to the Netherlands and he experienced the opposite. He went from not organized at all to you can read the signs where to go. And
too much organized.
Yeah, that was also very difficult. So
yeah,
I find that very difficult.
You know, it's always there that there's a video camera around there.
Yeah.
When I came, I was a little bit shocked to see them telling people that there's a video camera here.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, aren't you supposed to catch them by not telling them there's a video camera here? Because for us, you will see back home, you will see our police officer hid somewhere, and they will wait until you park where you're not supposed to park. They will just appear from nowhere. So I always think like that was okay. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Until they told me no, they are telling you to be cautious before. They do not want you to be in that position. Yes. That's why they are telling you that there's a camera here for you to be cautious.
Yeah.
They were like, I was like, what? These funny things, like, okay. I'm like, it's new.
Yeah.
It's new. So they do not want to catch you. They want to tell you to be careful.
Right.
I'm like, whilst we're over there, we want to catch you. Our police want to catch you. That's all what they want to do.
They need cash.
They want to catch you.
Yeah, that's true. It's very funny. We are talking about cultural differences. Do you have something typical concerning cultural differences between Africa and Poland? Landry, can you tell us one nice story about that? Short.
Well, you are putting me on the spot here.
Yes.
There are quite a number of cultural differences. I'll tell you one funny one that happened between my wife and I. Mm-hmm. Probably is how we grew up. I grew up in a home where we can sing, depends on the mood, and your mood dictates the kind of song you pick,
Yeah.
I grew up singing anyway, and my wife came from a home where they never sing. So my singing disturbs her. She kept it to herself until one day she just went, "Can you please be quiet?" And I went, "Come on, to be quiet in my own home,
Yeah.
That's one of the differences we have. I mean,
yeah. I have that one every day.
I see.
Yeah, with my woman also. She's telling me, I'm really tired of your singing the whole time. So let's talk about time shortly.
I think I can add something to time.
Yes.
I'm really my father's daughter because my dad is strictly on time. My father is the type of man that if we would go to a gathering, or let's say on Saturdays, we would go to like a house party and the party is at 12, my dad would start preparing at 9 and be like ironing his cloth and everything. And then by the time he was ready, he would be sitting on the couch waiting for all of us to get ready. So it's not like, oh, let me help you get the kids ready. He already ironed his handkerchief. He got himself ready, and my mom would always be still cooking some food, getting the kids ready and doing all of that. And then it's like he's always late. So for me, I'm always on time. I love being on time because I would be with my dad on time. Yeah. But then I I have like appointments with people and they're like, okay, let's meet at 4. I'll be there at 4. Exactly like 4 o'clock, I'll be there. If there's like something really happened, I'll tell you, but 4 is 4. And people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're on time. You're probably not running on African time. I'm like, no, I am not. But they assume that because I'm African or Black, they're like, oh, Amanda will be there at 4:30. Let me just take my time. But I'm not like that. So it's like the stereotype of, oh, you're Black, so you're probably going to be late.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword because it is true, but it's also not true,
I'm always on time, but all of my children not. They are always too late. They are always thinking, oh, I can do this quickly, and then it's not quickly and it takes time. So they are always late.
Yeah.
And I learned them to be on time because it's annoying. But this started already when they went to school. They were always late.
Yeah.
And so I'm used to it, that people comes too late.
When I'm dealing with my African people, I know it's an African thing. When I'm doing it, but honestly, I did learn time with Femi. Femi was the one that I respected him. It's a different kind of African. He schooled me. Yeah, I wanted to treat him as one of the, or like one of our kind, but he schooled me. Yes, I play at African night, and I was there like the first time. I think I was there very, very late. I think we started at 10. Yeah, I was there at past 10, and he was like, "Are you sure?" Yeah, I'm like, so I want to give him that. It was the one that changed my perspective a little. Yeah.
Okay.
For me to value time.
Yes.
When this is this, so I give him that. But I still have to balance it with my African brothers and other people because however you do, we have our own African time. And we are not going to part by that. We'll stick by that. That's for sure.
Congratulations, then, Femi. You have done something good. That's great.
They used to say that European they discovered the watch, but we have the time. The Africans, we have the time. So. Like what Otta said, when it comes to official, going to work and all those things, all of us are conscious of that at time. Yeah. But when it comes to our gatherings, we have that inbuilt mechanism that turns our thinking to, take it easy. Like we used to laugh that one Oyibo, if I say Oyibo, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Say the West and the European, they're having a party. They say the party is from 5 to 8 o'clock. Yeah. And then we have the attitude of, hey, if you don't want to give a party, just forget about it. Why should I be going to a party? I'll be rushing. It makes no sense. Party is when you go and relax. So in that perception, every African still struggles with that time, direct or indirectly. But then when we go to Africa, we find out that unconsciously we have changed. When you ask somebody to come and work for you, you're expecting that the person is going to tell you, I'll be there by 8 o'clock. But if you are lucky, you see the person by 12. Then you realize that it's very frustrating. Yes. And then, so that is also the other side of living in two cultures. Yes. Here it can be, we can tolerate it within us, but not too long. But when we go to Africa, we find out that you are building with your time. You want to do things, 3-4 things, the center, but the people there don't get it. They have the time, they say, oh, my brother, it's still morning. Why are you disturbing yourself? You're thinking too much, take it easy. So that's what you need to find a way to balance.
Yes. So the balance is coming again, and we'll use it to close the meeting. as a conclusion, what we need to integrate in a good manner is to find a balance between both culture. And if you can find this balance, the rest will be very easy. So I want to thank you all. This was a very interesting evening. It was a pleasure, and we had a very interesting talk tonight. Next time it will be more interesting, and it will increase. So keep on joining us and follow up us, and then I wish you a very nice weekend.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.